In a near-future America torn by civil war, a team of journalists and photographers journey to reach Washington, D.C. before rebel forces seize and control the White House. Welcome back to Movies Explained. Today's film is a 2024 action thriller titled Civil War. The movie begins in the near future, with the President of the United States giving a speech to the nation. He struggles with his words, as he announces that the Western forces, comprised of Texas and California, who oppose the official government, have been severely defeated by the U.S. armed forces. He promises his supporters that he will reintegrate the residents of these rebellious states into the Union once their illegal governments are dismantled and American democracy is restored. War photographer Lee Miller listens to the president's speech in a hotel room, realizing that the president is merely a puppet who doesn't even believe his own words. She snaps a photo of the TV screen just as an explosion rocks the building. The next day, Lee ventures into the chaotic streets wearing a bright press vest, documenting everything: the people's anger, crowd beatings, and police brutality. Lee sees a young girl with a camera being badly beaten by a policeman and rushes to help her. The girl instantly recognizes Lee as her idol, and Lee gives her the press vest for protection. Suddenly, an explosion hits the crowd, killing many people. Lee quickly takes shocking photos, and the girl helps her capture the scene. Later, Lee meets with her colleague, reporter Joel, and veteran journalist Sammy. Lee and Joel discuss the situation, agreeing that the Western forces will soon reach Washington. They plan to report on this by taking photos and interviewing the ousted leader in besieged Washington before the Western soldiers capture and kill him. To do this, they need to travel over 1,000 kilometers and avoid being shot by the radical citizens of the former United States. However, Sammy is strongly against this plan because journalists are being killed in Washington. Instead, he maps out a safe route through the Civil War-torn area, showing that he has also thought about making the trip. Later that night, exhausted Lee decides to go to her room but runs into Jessie, the girl she saved earlier. Jessie confesses her desire to also photograph the war, admiring Lee's work, but Lee bids her goodbye and leaves. While lying in the bathtub, haunting memories of the terrible street killings torment Lee as she tries desperately to forget. In the morning, she leaves the hotel to see Sammy and Jessie in the car with Joel. Angry at first, her partner explains Jessie's dreams of becoming like her, so why not help? Lee calms down and gets in the car. The team sets off, but soon comes across a massive car crash. Vehicles shot up, smashed and abandoned on the road. They can only guess the passenger's fate as Joel skillfully navigates through the wreckage. As they drive, Sammy pretends to interview the president, asking Joel tough questions like whether disbanding the FBI and using airstrikes against citizens was wise. Joel laughs at the tough questions, joking they need to let the president finish before he chokes on the rope. Soon, the group arrives at a gas station and notices that all the workers are armed with guns and other ammunition. While Joel refuels the car, Jessie and Lee step aside and see two mutilated people hanging by their hands nearby. One of the gas station workers explains that these people are looters. He asks Jessie to decide their fate, kill them now or let them suffer. The girl is too shocked to respond, but Lee asks the worker to stand closer to the victims for a group photo. Later, as they drive away from the gas station, the shaken Jessie realizes she didn't take a single photo or object to the killings. Lee calmly tells her that their job is not to ask questions, but to record what's happening so others can ask questions later. If Jessie wants to be a journalist, she needs to stay strong. The group drives through destroyed cities filled with dead bodies. In one square, Lee asks to stop, takes Jessie to a wrecked helicopter, and tells her to photograph it. Jessie does and talks about her farmer father, who acts like everything is fine. Jessie uses her film camera because good digital ones are hard to find now. She apologizes for imposing, but Lee cuts her off, saying she doesn't care about Jessie's thoughts or feelings. She just needs her to take photos. Jessie then asks if Lee would photograph her execution. Later, Lee confides in Sammy that she always wanted her photos to serve as a warning, but now they feel like mere photo albums. Sammy reminds her of her youthful passion and urges her to pay more attention to Jessie, understanding how tough it is for young reporters. Joel chimes in, commenting that Lee has lost faith in the power of journalism. Suddenly, gunfire erupts in the distance, prompting the group to stop for the night. Joel talks to Jessie, suggesting she stay where it's safer, but she refuses to hide. The next morning, they reach a town embroiled in a fierce battle. They join one of the groups and carefully document the terrifying events. Jesse, focused solely on capturing the moment, keeps taking photos while a soldier helps his wounded friend. Then, they follow soldiers clearing a building, filming everything. They capture soldiers executing a wounded enemy and the faces of other soldiers who seem indifferent to the chaos. Sammy watches the executions calmly. Jesse films them without much emotion, and Lee looks away, not wanting to witness the brutality. They continue on, and soon reach a refugee camp where they can get food but no tent. The people are staying in a former stadium, and the kids are happily playing with sports equipment. Lee brings Jessie food and is surprised to see her developing film on the road. Jessie confesses she knows how Lee's journalism journey started. After all, her photos of a student massacre became famous worldwide. Lee tells her that her parents also live on a farm and choose not to get involved in the Civil War. Later, Jessie shows Lee how she views the photos on her phone, and Lee admits that out of 30 photos, she usually only gets one good one. She praises Jessie's photo of a dying soldier as excellent. During the night, they rest near the fires, and in the morning, they continue through the ruined, burning countryside. Soon, they reach a town that hasn't been touched by the war. The people there seem confused, making it feel like they've stepped back in time. They go into a clothing store, and the saleswoman offers them anything to try on, saying they've all agreed to ignore the war because it's not their problem. Jessie asks Lee to try on a dress and takes her picture. They relax, pretending like everything's peaceful again. However, as they leave, Sammy points out armed men on the roof, serving as a stark reminder of the cost of peace. The group continues, and Sammy reminds them of what happened to Gaddafi, Mussolini, and Ceausescu, where they couldn't say anything in the end. Therefore, Joel's hopes for a successful interview with the president seem unlikely. Suddenly, they spot an amusement park up ahead, with a dead soldier in the middle. As their car moves slowly, a shot is fired. The journalists take cover behind a building where two soldiers are already hiding. There's a sniper up ahead who is shooting at passing vehicles. The soldiers don't know the identity of the sniper but plan to retaliate because they were fired upon first. While the soldiers are handling the situation, Lee is relaxing on the grass, admiring the flowers. After a while, the sniper stops shooting, and the journalists continue on their way. However, while driving through a forested road, Lee notices a car following them. She slows down to let it pass, but when it catches up, they realize it's their colleagues from Hong Kong. One of them moves towards Lee's car while driving. Then, Jessie, wanting to do the same, goes to the Chinese journalist's car. They drive ahead of Lee's car. After discussing their plans, the journalists suddenly realize their colleague's car is missing from the road. Lee starts to worry. Soon, they reach a farm and see the Chinese journalist's empty car ahead. The girl and journalist are being held at gunpoint by camouflaged men. Lee manages to stop their car unnoticed. They watch as the soldiers dump civilian bodies into a pit, realizing these are criminals with no regular army around. Lee asks Sammy to stay back while they approach the soldiers. Joel tells them they're just passing through as journalists. Suddenly, one camouflaged soldier shoots one of the Chinese journalists and then starts interrogating them. When he realizes they're from the Central States of America, he calmly kills the second Chinese journalist. It's clear he wants to kill them all. Suddenly, Sammy's car speeds onto the road, hitting the attacker. But Jessie falls into the mass grave. She wakes up atop the bodies and climbs out. Joel grabs her, and they jump into the car as Sammy drives off. The soldiers wake up and shoot at them, but they manage to escape. Jessie and Joel scream from the shock, but after calming down, they find Sammy is injured. They move him to the back seat and keep driving. Night falls as the car travels through a forest fire. People are amazed by the burning trees and flying ash. In the morning, they arrive at a Western Forces military camp to find Sammy has passed away quietly. They talk to colleagues and learn the government troops have nearly given up. Their hope of reaching D.C. seems unfulfilled. The capital is protected by the last few determined soldiers and remnants of the Secret Services, so Lee and Joel are too late. There won't be a story, and Sammy's death seems pointless. But later, Lee disagrees with Joel. Sammy always wanted to die fighting, not from illness, so this isn't the worst outcome. The Western forces advance towards Washington. Lee cleans Sammy's blood from the car, and they follow. At night, the journalists arrive at the White House and film everything happening. A serious battle breaks out on the streets of the city. Lee and Jesse capture the faces of the soldiers, their bravery and their deaths. They follow a group that removes obstacles to reach the president's home. The Western forces surround the White House. One colleague tells Joel the winners are landing on the Congress building by helicopter, so it will be over soon. The president is in the White House and will surely be killed. Suddenly, the president's group leaves the building, chased by soldiers. Then, Lee realizes the president isn't there and leads her team to the White House. A group of soldiers notices and follows them. The journalists go inside only to find out that there are dead bodies in the entrance hall. Everything is broken and scattered, but they can't see any living people. The soldiers tell them not to get in the way, and the journalists follow as they search the White House. They eventually reach a room where a woman negotiator meets them. The negotiator asks for assurance that the president will be safe. She promises to take them to him, but the soldiers shoot her without warning and continue. A firefight with the president's guards erupts in the corridors. Lee is shocked by the chaos and hardly takes any photos. Jesse, on the other hand, becomes desensitized and eagerly chases each new shootout. She loses focus and runs into the middle of the corridor. Lee sees a soldier aiming at her, so she rushes forward, pushes Jesse down, and shields her with her own body. Jesse stays on the ground, filming her mentor Lee's final moments as she falls nearby after taking a bullet to shield Jesse. Despite this, Jesse gets up and follows Joel as he rushes towards the Oval Office. There, soldiers capture the president. He tries to question the person responsible for the country's downfall, but the president begs for his life. The soldiers shoot him, and Jesse captures the last moments of the US president's life on camera. Then she takes a picture of the smiling Western soldiers next to the politician's body. It's a horrifying scene, like something out of a bloody action movie, showing how quickly things can spiral out of control. The director vividly brings the horrors from other countries to the streets of America, serving as a stark warning. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe for more videos.